Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the second episode of NickTok. I want to know, and I also want to say thank you for listening to the first one if you did. I want to know if you did enjoy it, please hit me up on Twitter at Nick Barden or wherever else you find me and let me know what you thought of the first episode. It was a treat to have Mike Stevens on for the first one. But now to the next episode, the second episode of NickTok. I want to introduce Michael Mazzei, the contributor at TLN, the Giffer social media rep and writer for Maple Leafs Hot Stove, Ryerson Journalism and Centennial College grad, and Matt Rodrigopulle, a contributor for TLN as well, a Ryerson Journalism grad, and both the host of the Behind the Net podcast. And they actually just brought on Joshua Cloak and Blake Murphy. So I encourage you to go check that out. Guys, thank you for coming on. How are you both doing today?
It's our pleasure to be on, man. Of course, you're one of our really good friends, so this is just fun. We had you on the other week, and that was really fun. But I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm not bad. Just sitting here on a Saturday, watching and hoping for Nick Robertson to make the team.
I mean, of course, aren't we all? I mean, I think he's nearly a lock. Like it's getting there.
Mike, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. I have an exam to write a little bit later. Feeling a little stressed, but I'm on your podcast. It's great to be here. Thanks for making us your second guest. Even though silver is not as good as gold, we'll take it.
You're still gold in my books, don't worry. But I want to know, before we get started, you both went to Ryerson and you did the journalism. I want to know, what made that decision for you to both get enrolled in journalism and go that route to just have a career?
Michael, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. It was in high school where I decided I really wanted to do journalism. I was in this program with this really great teacher. His name was Mr. Stewart, one of my favorite teachers of all time. And it was in this media class that I took at a high school called St. Therese Lisieux that I really started to realize that I really love writing. And it was during that time where I discovered Ryerson has a journalism program. And once I did a tour, I'm going to say this is around spring of 2014, was when I knew that's what I wanted to do. I was a big Leaf fan at the time, still am, by the way. Why would I be doing this? So I just started a blog, and then that pretty much went from there. And then once I really started Ryerson, was when I started to realize that sports writing is what I really want to do. And it kind of just peeled up from there. It's kind of the basic story of it. There's a lot more to it than that, but it's just a high school class. My love for the Leafs, thanks to the 2013 lockout. And I'm just grateful I went to Ryerson. That's for sure.
For me, I think it dates back to probably like grade 9 in high school. Really, I think I liked, I was good at the regular math and science and stuff, but I really I found it so boring. But the one skill I knew I seemed to be really good at was writing. So in grade 9, when everyone was thinking about what they want to do after high school or what the career field they want to go into, I was really clueless. I didn't even know. So I figured okay, I'm good at writing and I don't hate it. I kind of hated math and things like that, and I didn't want to do that things that involve that kind of stuff. But I don't hate it. I did like it, but I think my love for it really started to grow through high school. But yeah, so I kept that in the back of my head, and then when it came time in grade 11, I think is when you take courses more catered towards what you're trying to go into. I really took writing and writer's workshop, creative writing, I think is the class name. And I was basically set on doing journalism. I just thought journalism was honestly, I just thought journalism was mainly writing. I didn't even think about the video aspect and things like that and the media aspect. And I growing up, I love making videos and things like that. So grade 12, when you really start applying and things like that, and you find out what it fully entails, it was just perfect for me. And and I through it all, ever since I was a kid, I loved sports. That was probably my biggest passion. I started writing about sports to apply to Ryerson journalism, and I got in. And yeah, just I guess the passion for both journalism and sports journalism has just been growing since I entered the program.
Now that's a lot different than my route. I was in high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea. I didn't even have an idea when I graduated. It was just like for you both, like Matt, you said you liked writing, so you took a writing course. For me,
Yeah,
I just wanted to get out of high school. I was so focused on having the easy route. I actually got put into, I think it was called Writer's Craft. And it was
that's the
like,
one. That's the course I took. Yeah,
yeah,
creative
I
writing
got
course.
put
Yeah.
in that class and I'm like, nope, not smart enough for that. And I was like, got to get out of that. So I got out of that and got put in, I think I got put into like a grade 11 cooking class and I was in grade 12, which was very weird. But yeah, for some reason I didn't like it, but like you both said, you enjoyed writing. I enjoyed writing. I remember when I was younger, I think I tried to write my own book when I was like 9 or 10. That I don't know where that is. I don't even remember, but yeah, writing's been a big thing, and I'm glad like you both got into what you're doing and what you're enjoying and what you love, because that's the main thing. It's about doing what you're loving and doing what you're passionate about. And I want to know also, going off of that, since you both are graduates, what was the biggest takeaway from school? Like maybe the biggest advice someone has given you, whether that be a teacher, somebody that's in the field now, or just a friend?
Matthew, why don't you go first?
Okay. The first thing that pops into my mind is like especially for the younger journalists and people still in journalism school or even people in high school, wanting to get into journalism is just put yourself out there and actually go do it and speak to people in the industry. If you want to get into sports journalism, speak to athletes or, you know, just attend games, just go for like those, media credentials, just try getting yourself out there. Like, yeah, I mean, a lot of like even some of the guests we get on the show and a lot of the people I've met, um, through my time in journalism school and slowly into the industry is like, I just kind of put myself out there to get those new opportunities or like, I remember one of the coolest, games I've covered was the Toronto Wolfpack championship game. And I honestly just, sent them an email out on a limb to see if I can get a media pass, and they were really open to it. And I got some great material there and learned a lot about covering those types of things, like those bigger events. And yeah, just put yourself out there, especially if you're in high school. Just sign up for any, games or events that you want to cover. Even just go there, even without a media pass, and try to get just try to find yourself talking to people there and just get open, of course, as well. Like the first thing they taught us in journalism school was that like everyone's just shy, right? Like nobody is used to just going up to people and talking or just approaching people and things like that. And just once you do it, like whether it's sports media or just regular journalism, it's all about interactions with people, so you have to get comfortable with that. But definitely just putting yourself out there and just try to get into those events or just try to get access to whatever or whoever.
I agree with that. That was one of the main takeaways for me as well during my time at Ryerson, just putting yourself out there and trying different things. But I think the other few things for me was to make connections as quickly as possible, because you never know who you could be interacting with. Like it could be just your friend that could one day be one of the top reporters for Global News or CBC or what have you, or even just someone small. You always got to make connections. I didn't really realize it right away, but after a couple of years, when it really started sinking, that was very important to make as many friends as I possibly could and just try and build up my connection base. And it's really been paying dividends, especially now with our podcast, because we met so many great writers, so many great people in the industry, and they've been saying really nice things to us and want to help us out. I just remember after our podcast with Joshua, he was saying, like, if anything, just let us know. Let me know if you want any help. So you always have to be willing to reach out to anyone, like Matthew said, because there's always in the industry, they always want to help. But I think the other thing is, and this is something I really realized right away, when I was in journalism is don't pigeonhole yourself. Like, obviously, I want to write about sports, and obviously, I love talking and writing about the Leafs. But there's so many other subjects for journalism that you have to be willing to try different things. You have to be uncomfortable to be comfortable, if that makes sense. Like, if you want to write about sports, be willing to write about politics, be willing to write about law, because everything gets interconnected in some way, shape, or form. And I've always been trying to keep an eye on what else is going on in the world, like not just with sports, like other news, because you never know. You could be tasked with going to cover an event, like a funeral for someone, or like a mass shooting. And I know it's like pretty graphic stuff, but that's the world of journalism. There's so many things that could happen. You have to be prepared to do anything. And if you don't have that experience of, or at least have some knowledge of what the other subjects are, you'll leave yourself vulnerable, and people like, oh, all you could do is just one thing. So journalism is basically the Swiss Army knife. You have to be a Swiss Army knife. And that's pretty much my main takeaway from journalism school, and what I would tell anyone aspired to be a writer or journalist.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that like my profs told me too, is you have to be open to everything, because if you're not, like you said, you're going to be pigeonholed. You're going to only have one path, and that one path might not get you to where you want to be. So you have to obviously be open. And also, one of the other things, I want to go back to what Matt said, that you have to talk to people. Now, when one of the first days of journalism school, one of my profs was like, okay, if you're not somebody who likes to talk to people now, by the end of this program, I guarantee you will be. And I know for me, like I classify myself as an introvert. I'm not someone who goes out of their way to go talk to people. So journalism and journalism school was harder for me. And especially if you guys had to do it streeters for things.
Oh yeah.
That was one of the hardest things for me, because it's just, you're just talking to random people. I remember I had to stand outside Union Station one time and ask people about Tim Hortons. And it was weird. But what was, for you guys, what was probably, I want to say, like the hardest part of journalism, like your school? Like, what was the thing that made you most uncomfortable, that you felt you've grown through?
I guess I could start.
Yeah, you could start. I need to
think
think a little about this.
I think it's pretty much streeters, honestly. The interview is probably the most challenging thing a journalist has to do. People think, oh, no, interview is just easy. You're just talking to someone, just doing a conversation. It's honestly not like that, because try going up to a stranger and ask them about what do you think of the implementation of this statute? What do you think of these new policies that the school is being implemented? Because 9 times out of 10, they'll probably give you nothing, or they'll just say, huh? Can you explain this to me? And like, you have to do all that. And it was very nerve wracking, especially for a first year student. And that's one of your first assignments. Like, go out on the street and interview people, and good luck. And if you have to finish it all within an hour. So yeah, that was definitely like being thrown right into I felt like I was thrown right into the deep end with that. But I learned quickly that that's pretty much what journalism is in a nutshell. You just got to be willing to be given tasks that have tight deadlines, especially interviews like that, and just try and make it work. And interviews were like that for me, but I feel like that's gotten better over time. And especially now with the podcast, it makes it much easier. So you can figure out what works and what doesn't, how you can do pacing, trying to figure out what the next question should be, and just getting the general sense of what the guest is like, so you know how to dictate how the interview will go. I think interviews definitely made a big stride for me. I don't know about you, Matthew. What do you think?
I mean, you hit a really good point. Like, honestly, it was that just talking to people. That was everyone found that hard. I think for me as well, another point that was really hard about J school was, especially in first year, meeting deadlines. In terms of like, at Ryerson, the infamous first year thing was story days, which is like every week you have to do a story, and like a same day story. So whatever is going on, you basically pitch it, or you get it assigned to you. And you have to do all the reporting and everything by like a deadline, which is usually like 5:00 that day. So it's a same day story. And like some days you'd get like a topic or that you like. Some days you won't. Some days, the sources will be there. Some days they don't even get back to you at all. And I mean, as a first year student, like Michael said, they kind of throw you right into it. And looking back now, that was the perfect way to, do it, because I mean, even first year, we all hated that. Like, we all hated the fact that we were thrown into it, but now we're pretty grateful that that happened, because we learned so much from it. Um, but yeah, I mean, and I remember in first year, like, people would like nearly break down because of how stressful it gets, nearing the deadline. And I do want to shout out, our Ryerson journalism professors, because a lot of them are so helpful. I mean, all of them are just so helpful, and they could see how stressful it is, and they care about us. But they also do push us. There's an even balance between, like, pushing us and also kind of holding our hand in a way to get through it. But yeah, I just remember that was so difficult, but we adapted. We met those deadlines, even if we were proud of some stories or not proud of some other stories. But we got through it, and honestly, like, I just completed my 4th year, and it's crazy how much my skills have regressed from using that first year as the foundation.
So hold on. I want to just ask, for those story days, did you have to do, was it just written stories, or was it you had to bring out a camera and everything too?
Camera stuff came out second year. Like, that was like
Oh,
same thing, but that was like more like they did like a newsroom environment where like you have to tackle like multiple stories in a day, and you
yeah.
have to tackle the multimedia aspect and then put it on a website like in groups. But yeah, that
Yep.
first year was just focusing on writing, reporting, and yeah, they added like not like a video, but you had to get photos as well to add to your story. It was nice. Like, they kind of like, I think we did what, maybe like 8, I think, in the whole year or something like that. And
Yeah, someone on those lines.
yeah, and each one would be like adding a new element to the difficulty, I guess.
Yeah, for me it was sort of the same at Seneca College. It was more of, I think the first year, I want to say it was because we had to do writing, we did radio stuff, and we did TV stuff. So the first year was more of like getting, or the first semester actually was getting to know like the camera stuff. We had like a research course that we did as well, and then we did a podcast/radio course, and that's where I had to do the streeters. For the first thing, I had to go around the school and just ask random people questions, which sucked a lot. But um yeah, it was hard, especially, and I, like you said, Matt, you see some of the people, how stressed out they get and how um worried they are that they're not going to get things done. And for me, it wasn't, for to start, it was like worrisome because you saw how much work you had to do. But as you get through it and as you start like putting pieces of the story together, it's like you're chipping away at that block, and it gets easier and easier. So that was a good feeling as well. And like you said, the teachers too, the teachers were great. Like, if you needed help with anything, they were always there. They were just so helpful. And if you ever had a problem, again, they were there. But yeah, that was for me, Seneca. But now I just want to go to what you guys have done recently. You've made a switch from editor in Leaf to the Leafs Nation. And I want to know, first off, congratulations, because you've joined
Thank
me, and
you.
it's exciting, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But I want to know from you both, what was behind the switch. I know we've already talked about it, but I want to know, like, if there's any other takeaways or anything that you did or wanted to do to make the switch. What was the reason behind it?
I mean, I'll go first. I mean, simply put, like, there really wasn't much, like my experience at Editor and Leaf was like nothing but positive. Like, it was amazing. Like, the crew over there was so good to me. I was there for years. Like, I think I joined Fanside in my first year of university, and then yeah, I wrote there honestly for years. Um, and I think I just needed something new, like a new opportunity or like change in my life. I think also reaching a point where I do feel like I need change in my life just overall. So it goes back to the work I put out. And yeah, I mean, the opportunity came up for the Leafs Nation, and I thought it would be a great new opportunity, something new to tackle. So I decided to go with that. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really huge behind it, like no drama or anything, like, I don't know, but uh, but because yeah, like Editor and Leaf was great to me. Fansite is a great organization overall. They treat their writers well. No problems there. I personally haven't had any problems. I can't speak for anyone else, but yeah, I had an overall positive experience there. And yeah, just looking for something new. And so far, it seems like everything's going smoothly at the Leafs Nation. Really love working with you guys and the new team at the Leafs Nation, and John, of course, very helpful. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to get some great content out there.
I'm on the kind of the same boat as Matthew. Yeah, I really did want that change. I never really hated my time at Editor and Leaf. I think it was a good experience, and I think it was a great spot to start my career. And I want to thank, obviously, just on this podcast, thank James personally for being so supportive, for not just me but everyone else that worked for the site, because it really meant a lot, that support. But in all honesty, that was part of why. Like, I just wanted the change. But honestly, to be completely real, I was just not feeling happy for the last couple of months, in the last few months at Editor and Leaf, and I didn't know why. But it wasn't until I was talking with you, Nick, like in a private conversation after you joined the Leafs Nation, that I realized that I needed to make a change. Because I realized that the reason why I wasn't feeling so happy, like I wasn't really writing as many articles as I used to, just not feeling motivated, was just because I didn't feel very like happy at Editor and Leaf. And so when I knew that there was an opportunity at the Leafs Nation, I had to jump on it. And I noticed my mood was changing a lot once I joined and I started writing articles. Like you guys seen, I've written so many articles in like this week already. It's crazy. It's just like the dam broke and everything was flying out. I didn't realize just how much I needed this change until I just joined the Leafs Nation. So honestly, like that conversation with you really pushed me to want to make a change, and I'm grateful for it because I didn't realize how much I needed it. And I'm glad I'm joining along with you guys, all the other great writers, and shout out to John because he's been so awesome so far.
Yeah, John's a funny guy, and he's helped a lot. He's been very professional, and he's also been, like I said, a lot of fun, and he jokes around with you. And if you post something on Twitter, he'll respond with something funny. He's been great, and everyone else welcomes you with open arms when you come in, and it's just a nice little group of people that it's actually not a little group. There's like 28 of us, right?
Yeah,
I don't know the exact number, but yeah, there's a good amount.
Yeah, it's a good amount of people, and it's a good group of people. And with content wise, it's going to be writing, but I want to know, as you both, I would consider you both as writers, but obviously content creators as well. What are you both, like, what are you most passionate about for content? Like, I know you both said writing, but are there any other things? I'm gonna cut out podcasts too, because podcasts don't count, because you do that too. Is there any other routes of making content that you guys both enjoy?
I'll go first. For me, I'd have to say video. Specifically, like broadcast is what I really want to get into. How that kind of started was like when I joined journalism school, like I wasn't even thinking about broadcast. I didn't even think I would want to be in front of a camera. And then that just shows like how much I learned during school, or like I was open to trying new things. And then I took the TV broadcast course, and it was just so much fun, and I just love it now. And especially like something to do with sports. I would love to do something with like sports broadcasting, but yeah, anything with video, I really enjoy that.
I've always wanted to do video too. Broadcasting, I realized it's something I was really interested in doing. I would say early in my fourth year, which is kind of unfortunate because it was a little too late for that to really develop that experience a little bit further. But when I was at the Ryerson, which is this newspaper that
Shout out to
Ryerson
Ryerson.
journalism students, you do that in your fourth year. it's like one of those things you get a chance to do. I know, Matt, you got to do it as well, and I think we can both agree that was a very helpful experience. Unfortunately for him, he didn't get a chance to really use the benefits of the TV broadcast because for whatever reason they canceled it. But for me, I got a chance to be on front of the camera a bunch, doing like recaps for sports. I did the weather a couple times, and that really made me feel more comfortable in front of the camera. And I realized, hey, I want to do this. I want to be in front of the camera more. I think this would be fun. And you've also seen, I'm not sure if you guys watch hockey YouTube as much, but there isn't as many content as I'd say for other sports. And part of me wants to pursue that as well. But I guess I just don't know what I want to do it on. But I definitely want to do something in front of the camera at some point because I think that'd be a lot of fun.
You know what I want to see? I want to see you turn on the camera and yell about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Just like Steve
Every video is
Dangle
going
does
to be on why I want Blake Coleman on the Leafs.
Shout out
And
Blake
then-
Coleman,
and then
Michael's favorite player.
Yeah, Blake Coleman. I remember when at the trade deadline when he was everything that came out of his mouth or everything that he typed was Blake Coleman something.
Oh yeah.
I was having an emotional breakdown, let's just put it that way, when he
Hey,
got traded to the Avalanche
But
and that got canceled.
I want to shout out the game that me and Michael went to against the Devils. I mean, but yeah, he actually scored a hat trick in that game. That was the
Oh,
Austin
no.
Matthews game as well, right? The Austin Matthews hat trick
Yeah.
game.
Yep.
Yeah, and I guess Michael brought him good luck.
So
I guess
if they face the Lightning in the second round, Michael, you're not watching any games.
I'm just going to be an
just-
emotional wreck. I'm going to have mixed reactions when Blake Coleman does something.
That'd be funny. I don't want them to face Tampa though. I'd be fine with them facing anyone else other than them. But yeah, I want to see if you why haven't you both, if you do want to do like video stuff, why haven't you made any YouTube channel yet or anything?
Well, I don't know if you count this as a YouTube channel, but quick plug, we just decided to move or open up a YouTube channel for the podcast. And we are thinking of dabbling in, video during the podcast. So that's probably going to come soon in the upcoming few episodes. But for me personally, I don't know, I like doing reporting type video, like broadcasting, right? In terms of digital video, I like doing digital video. We made some me and my fellow coworkers when we were at the Ryerson, we made some really cool sports videos, digital videos for the Ryerson Rams. But in terms of I don't think for me, unless it's reporting hard news or something like that, I don't want to just put myself alone out there. I don't know. I maybe I just don't have a good idea yet, but I never thought about starting a solo YouTube channel or anything. I'll make content for a corporation or reporting on something, right? But I don't know. It is, but I'm not looking down on it or anything, because it's definitely, I highly recommend for anyone, especially anyone trying to get into the industry or anything like that, put yourself out there, start a YouTube channel, make a solo YouTube channel, make solo YouTube videos, things like that. I just haven't thought about it myself.
And Michael?
I think for me, it's just more time, just trying to figure out what I want to do it on. Obviously covering and reacting to the Leafs is definitely would be interesting, but I think there's just too much of a crowd there. Steve's already there. You're already there. There might be a few others that are there as well. And I'm thinking more of just doing more into the history of like hockey and stuff like that. Channels like Mike Zamba are one channels I think of, he covers a history and some cool stories. That's something I'd be interested in if I want to do it. But I'm just trying to think what I want to do it exactly on. And then I need the time to work on it, figure out recording studio and all that stuff. And then just if I get the time and the motivation, I'll do it. But right now, I'm not 100% focused on it, because right now my focus is primarily on the Leafs Nation, and that's been a lot of fun so far. But maybe one day I'll get the motivation. We'll see.
Yeah, and it's definitely been for me, like I've had nothing to do for the past couple months, so the motivation is a lot harder for YouTube, and it's been interesting to say the least because I don't know what to do. I don't know what to come up with for YouTube videos. I don't want to start narratives on something that won't even happen, or just make videos on Frederick Anderson. Well, actually, I already did that. Not Frederick Anderson being like not good enough for this playoffs, but like Austin Matthews, for example, leaving to go to Arizona in like 4 years. I, as much as I want to make a video on that, I don't want to create that narrative 4 years down the road when it's just that I have nothing to do to talk about. But speaking of COVID-19, everyone's had their own story of going through what they went through. I know a lot of people have had very tough, maybe tough months or tough days throughout this whole thing, and just coping and being inside all of this time has been hard. And for some people, like I want to say for me, I'm already a homebody, so it's been sort of easier. I haven't had a lot of rough days. But for you both, I want to know how you guys have kind of coped with everything, and how you've felt the last few months have went.
Honestly, for me, it was kind of a challenge at first because in my program at Centennial, I've made a lot of great friends, and every day we'd be always hanging out. We'd just be having lots of laughs and sharing a lot of memories. And when we found out about COVID was when we were down in Tampa, Florida. Now, by the way, this was back when the cases in Florida were not as bad as they are right now. So I'm kind of grateful, at least I think, that I didn't catch it. But when I got back, I was just kind of feeling down for a bit because I didn't know what to do. And one of the ways that kept me sane and kept me focused was doing exercises daily, whether it be cardio, like running on the treadmill, walking outside, or just doing some weights down in my basement. Like that's helped me stay focused because like I was trying to keep moving. Because otherwise, I'd just be sitting down on my couch for hours on end doing God knows what. And I don't like that. I always feel like I have to do something. And that's kind of what's happened with me in journalism. When you're in journalism, you always want to do something. You always want to be tackling something different. You never want to be idle because then your creativity just goes away and you don't feel motivated as much to do things. And that's what has really helped me get through this pandemic, just trying to stay active and just having something to do. And the podcast has really helped as well. Because every week I know there's something to look forward to. Every week we always have to record something and just keeping an eye on what's happening, even if there's nothing. So I'm grateful that we have the podcast, and I'm grateful that I've been doing exercises.
Mm-hmm. For me, yeah, like of course, just like everyone, it's been pretty rough. For me, more so like when this whole thing started, yeah, I was really bummed about, of course, like our jobs being put on pause and just being home all the time. But I looked at the positives, a lot more time, finally to relax. Like who doesn't love time to relax, right? And I mean, yeah, like it's just time to regroup. And I think the first couple months, like it was much easier, but like I'll definitely admit that the last couple months have gotten a lot harder. Just even like keeping in check with my mental health and things like that, which is so important for everyone. And I think it's just because, of course, like I said, the first couple months were easier, and then it just kind of really starts weighing you out. Like it's like, I mean, how long do we think this would really last when it first started? We didn't think it'll go on this long, and it just keeps feeling like it's getting extended, and like, just there's no really light at the end of the tunnel yet. And of course, like when you're just when the time keeps adding up and increasing, and you're just at home even longer and longer and longer, like it really weighs on you mentally. And like obviously like I know, Nick, you said you're a homebody anyway, so like it was a little easier for you. Like I'm used to trying to keep myself busy, or trying to be productive, going out, just keeping my mind busy all the time. And it's been really harder to do that during this pandemic from home. Like it really feels like every day just feels like every day is like the same. Like it's starting to feel like that, or it started to feel like that months ago. And it's like at a certain point you just like kind of hit a breaking point where it starts to really, like weigh you down, and there's nothing to distract you anymore. So like, your thoughts just, get a little harder, and you start to like, I feel like anxious and things like that a lot. I struggle with that, but yeah, you just have to, like, I just find myself that I have to keep myself busy. Like I just have to try and figure out things to do. Like Michael said, the podcast, that I love doing the podcast, and that keeps me very busy. Yesterday, like we did part of it yesterday, and I did just, like I edited the same day, got a whole bunch out. Like that took a lot of my day out, and now I'm trying to write more with the Leafs Nation to keep my mind busy, and even just like spending time with family a lot more really helps. And yeah, just things like that. It's definitely harder these days because everyone's just kind of at home doing nothing. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything you both are looking forward to doing? Like I know, I don't think I don't know where you guys like are, like where you're living. I'm guessing it's the Toronto area.
Yeah.
Yeah, the east
Yeah.
end of, yeah.
So
I'm on the west side.
you both are still in phase. Is it phase 2? Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
phase 2.
Yeah.
The GTA is still in phase.
Yeah. So I'm from Durham. I'm in phase 3. But I want to know. I know it's. I want to say it's going to be different because I know last night I was coming home from work and I saw that one of the bars was open and there was people inside, and I thought, okay, that's very odd. Like it feels so different to just be able to sit in a restaurant, and I don't know if I'm even going to sit in a restaurant for the next like month or two. I've gone to a patio, but going into a restaurant still feels really weird. But I want to know from you guys, like, what are you most excited about? Like, once phase 3 comes, or phase 4, like, what are you most looking forward to?
For me, it's just like hanging out with friends again, or just going to social settings again. Like you said, like, yeah, the bar is one thing, or like parties, or even just restaurants that you can go with your friends. Just it kind of ties back to the fact that we don't have much to do, and like how it weighs on you mentally. Like obviously the fact that we haven't been able to socialize like how we usually do in so long, and also like just the fear of COVID as well. I think everyone has, or at least most people have, that fear of COVID in the back of their head. That it's good that everyone's kind of taking safety precautions, but it's like, yeah, that kind of, it kind of weighs you down as well in a way. But I'm just hoping that this can all end soon and we can kind of go back to all that. But yeah, just social interactions, like kind of the feeling of not having, like, you could interact with people socially and just not have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Mike, what about you, Michael?
I'd say the exact same thing as Matthew. Just being able to go outside, not to worry about COVID, or having to. Did I bring my mask with me? Did I bring my hand? I mean, I'll still bring my hand sanitizer. I think that's something that's going to be happening from now on. But the mask thing, I don't want to. That's what I look forward to. Just walking outside my house and not have to worry about bringing a mask, or just being able to be with my friends again, hang out with family on a regular basis. I don't realize how much I miss it until it's taken away from you for a long time. I think that's what this pandemic has really been. Like, it's been real, just being appreciative of everything that we have before the pandemic, everything we had, sorry. Just how grateful we are to be able to have such like like the freedoms that we have. And then when it's taken away, it doesn't, you don't realize it until after a few months, like, wow, we have so much that we have, and we're super grateful for it. At least that's what I hope most people feel, and that's what I feel personally. But I just look forward to just having some sense of normalcy, even if it's not going to be the type of normal that we were feeling before. Because I can already tell that once we go back into the real world and the pandemic is over and we get that vaccine into our bodies, it's going to feel different. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I feel like everyone's gonna be different about everything. Like, I think, like, for social interactions, if you meet somebody, I think there's still gonna be that handshake for some people. I know some people might stay away from it too. And especially, like, for me, I've noticed when you're walking around places, even if you have your mask on, and probably in the future, people are still going to want to keep that distance away from you because of obviously COVID right now, but in the future there could be something else or just the flu in general. And it's going to be interesting to see how they do everything, like how they open everything back up, like the restaurants and stuff. I think they're opening for I read something or saw something, and it was like 50% of the restaurant can open up, but some restaurants are taking the precaution and opening 25% of the inside up. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, especially with hockey and all sports too, about when and how many people they can allow back into the arena. And for musicians and concerts, like Justin Bieber, we saw has his tour dates scheduled for next summer. And if there's a second wave that comes, and if the US doesn't get this all under control, those concerts might have to be postponed again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be very interesting to see, and especially now with the NHL and they're going into the bubble and everyone having to be in that bubble tomorrow, it's going to be fun. But now, obviously, that was a nice transition to go from COVID-19 to hockey. I want to first, there's breaking news. I don't know if you have both saw it, but it's Leafs related news. I want to congratulate Zach Hyman on having, I was going to say having a baby. His wife is pregnant with a baby, so I want to say congratulations. Also
Congratulations.
along the lines of Leafs news, they had a practice today, their final practice where reporters will be allowed in and everything like that. We're going to get into that a little bit later. I want to know, Frederick Gauthier is out of the lineup. Nick Robertson is third line, and Engvall is, I think, the 4C or the fourth right winger. Do you think that's going to stay the same? Do you both think that Robertson is going to be there and Engvall is going to be the fourth line player, or do you think it's not going to be like that? Keith just wanted to see how it is for the last practice.
Michael, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's been very surprising and in a pleasant way to see Nick Robertson jump his way up the depth chart onto the top 9. Something I don't think we really expected to happen going into training camp. Like, this is not to discredit Nick Robertson, but I think you don't really have put too much pressure on an 18-year-old thinking, oh, he's going to make the NHL right away. But he's been working really hard at training camp. We've seen the videos. We've seen him being implemented alongside the likes of Matthews and Nylander and looking right at home. He's been trying different things. He's been creative, offensively speaking. And he's really, this is a guy that really wants this. Like, he really wants to be in the Leafs lineup on opening night of the play-in round. And I don't think I'm going to be against that, because I think he'd fit right in. But I think this is definitely a unique situation for him to get his first taste of NHL hockey, and why not? This is definitely something that I could see happening going forward. And it's unfortunate that Pierre Engvall has to be the fall, like the person that suffers from it. And I know that he was struggling at the second half of the season, but he makes a lot of sense on the fourth line. And switching between him and Gauthier, at least to me, makes the most sense. I don't know about you, Matthew. What do you think?
So for me, I definitely think Nick Robertson. It's looking like he is solidifying his spot there on third line. That's exactly where I'd put him. I think we talked about this on our podcast a few weeks ago, but he slots in there, and we do know that the Leafs, especially there on their left side, their winger depth is looking a little thin. So his addition definitely adds a lot to the lineup. And yeah, I mean, he's impressed in training camp, and I really think it comes down to that. It's unfortunate that Engvall has to take the back seat here, but Nick Robertson, I mean, everyone's kind of high on his performance, obviously this whole season, but the fact that he's been performing so well, and I think especially Kyle Dubas and even Sheldon Keefe, they're not scared to give these younger guys their opportunities to shine as long as they show it. So we'll see how the first few games play out, especially how he plays there. But I think that's exactly where I put him. And yeah, I mean, we do know Goat's kind of been on the outside of outside of the Leafs lineup bubble for most of the season. As in terms of if someone's got to be expendable, oftentimes it's been looking like Frederic Gauthier was the one. So I think I do like the lineup, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I wish for me, Frederic Gauthier came out at the start of the season, and he came out, I'd say he came out pretty strong. I remember the first few games he came out and people were like, did he like gain a lot of speed or like put rockets on his skates? Because he was a lot faster, and he did score a few goals in the beginning of the season, and he put on his Instagram hashtag on the road to 50, and I will be tweeting that if he ever scores again. So that's always a possibility. But um, if Nick Robertson makes the lineup, I'll be happy. I've seen him live once. He's been amazing. Has a great shot. He's a great player. He knows where to be at the right time. And I do think, like both you said, Pierre Engvall, if you put him essentially on that fourth line, I think it does make them deeper. It also, actually, I was going to say it makes them a lot bigger, but Frederic Gauthier is also a big guy.
Big, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think it brings another element of skill, and Engvall is very deceptive in how he skates and when he likes to turn on those jets and when to turn them off. And it's going to be exciting to see Robertson, if he does make it into the lineup. Like, it's not 100%, but I'd probably say it looks like 75% now. But other than Robertson, who are you both looking forward to seeing maybe play differently or just come out of the gate running in those first few games against Columbus?
For me, I think it's the obvious answer for a lot of Leafs fans right now, but definitely Ilya Mikheyev.
Yeah.
Of course, we've been deprived of like the second half of the season, or his second half of the season, and as we've seen, he's been playing great during these scrimmages during the training camp, and he's been pressing. It looks like he didn't take a step backwards during his injury. So I'm definitely looking forward to that because again, it goes back to the winger depth. I mean, he's become a key piece to the Leafs offensive core. And yeah, I'm just really high on him right now, and I really think he's been the missing piece for the latter half of the season.
Yeah, he's definitely been very impressive in this training camp so far, and I've been really excited to see what he can do. Now that he's fully healthy, he's taken his time off to really like regain his muscles and just get back to game shape. He's gonna look very impressive, especially in one of the last scrimmages where I think he scored a hat trick. That was like, wow, like, this guy's ready to go. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. I'm looking forward to see what Austin Matthews does. I think this is a guy that's going to be definitely motivated after just missing out on the Rocket Richard Trophy by one goal. One goal. That's just put into perspective just how close it was. This guy really wanted to hit 50. I know if the season continued, he would have definitely hit it. But he's going to try and just show that he was the person that should have won the trophy this year. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm going to see what Tavares does after all this time with the injury. Marner as well. Morgan Riley. And what I'm really looking forward to seeing is how Frederik Andersen does in these playoffs, because I think this is a big year for him.
I also want to say I think a dark horse kind of X factor I'd like to see is Jason Spezza, how he'll play out, because of course he's the experienced guy, the experienced vet on the team, and we'll see how his playoff experience comes into play here. But yeah, I mean, he had to wait until he was kind of freed from Mike Babcock there for the second half of the season, but yeah, he's really impressed during this season, especially for his value, and I think he can make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not probably on most people's list to see who they're excited to see, but I just thought, you said Jason Spezza, Matt. I thought it'd be exciting to see how good Kyle Clifford comes out, because he's won a few cups. He knows how to play rough and he knows how to use his body. So I'm wondering, obviously he's not like an offensive presence as much as he is maybe as like a physical one. I wonder if Sheldon Keefe uses him in different situations other than the fourth line for like just being able to put pressure on other teams, and he knows when to use his body and how to use it and how hard to hit players and stuff. So that's going to be interesting. And also, if Ilya Mikheyev resigns, which I'm hoping he does, and it's likely he will. Do we see him in the All-Star game next season?
Hmm.
I'm
I like the sound of that.
I'm not getting ahead of myself, but let's just hope he progresses just as quickly at the rate of that he's been progressing so far.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring up Kyle Clifford because I think this is a player that's built for the playoffs. Like this is the part of the reason why Kyle Dewis went out of his way to get him was because he's a physical presence. And you saw the impact that it had on Kasperi Kapanen, where at least in some extent, he's now a guy that's more physical, guy's willing to drop the gloves, has much more energy, and I think his play has improved dramatically. And you saw like some of the comments like the both players made, like they were complimenting each other, like their impact on the lineup. And I think that's what people don't realize is that yes, fighting is still prevalent in this game as much as its presence has gone down. It's still valuable. Same with the physicality aspect, and it's definitely valuable in the playoffs. So guys like Kyle Clifford in these situations are super important, and I think you need to have a couple of them. And I think the Leafs have now two guys that can provide that. One that they had to acquire via trade, and one that had to reconstruct his own play style. And I'm just glad that Kyle Clifford's on this team for that reason alone.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how Colin Clifford and how Kapanen uses his body too, because we saw how I think he had 2 or 3 fights before the season ended, and he was on a tear offensively and just physically. But like with him, Nylander, Austin Matthews, John Tavares, Mitch Marner, Nick Robertson, Zach Hyman. It's going to be fun to see how they all do, how they use their body, and especially Austin Matthews, because we've seen if he gets mad, he will use his body, and he's not afraid to drop you and put you to the ground. And he's a big guy as well, so he could do that. But speaking of him, the NHL players are all allowed to go into Scotiabank Arena or Rogers Place wearing whatever they want. Now I know we've seen Minnesota, and I think Dallas was a team as well, where they've kind of implemented a dress code. But going just for the Leafs, and I might branch off this question, I'm going to ask this. Who are you excited most to see dressed? And like who's going to dress the best as a Leaf? And maybe as a second parter, who do you think will dress best in the NHL coming into those arenas?
I'll go first. I'm huge on fashion. Like I myself, like really love men's fashion. I'm super tuned into and everything. Like I try to dress super nice, but you know, obviously in hockey, we've never really seen it where players can really extend themselves from suits. So this is really gonna be interesting. We know Austin Matthews has been one to try to put together a lot of course, like streetwear pieces, streetwear outfits. He's into that culture a lot more than other players. I think for me, if I was to pick one, I would say Mitch Marner. Now, I do want to say, like, just because, you know, they're allowed to wear street clothes to the arena, that doesn't mean, you know, I definitely think a lot of players will wear suits. And those are still very fashionable. You know, you don't have to be big and bold and stick out to be fashionable. You know, a lot of those suits are very nice. But Mitch Marner, I know he's had a lot of good suits, and I know like I've seen him wear, you know, a lot of street clothes, like a lot of streetwear outfits. He takes you know, kind of akin to Austin Matthews there, and you know, he doesn't draw as much attention to his outfits. Maybe he's just kind of getting into it now, but I definitely think he'll try more. I think he will with this like with this new rule where they can wear it to the arena. So I want to watch out for him, and also William Nylander, because Joshua Cloak, when we had him on our podcast this week, he mentioned how William Nylander actually was voted the most fashionable or the best dressed Leaf by the Leafs players. So whether he wants, I mean, we've seen some crazy outfits from him too. Whether he wants to, wear a more casual outfit or a more formal outfit, I definitely want to see how he puts it together as well.
Yeah, I definitely think that Matthews, Marner, and Nylander are the players that I want to be keeping an eye on for the Leafs in terms of fashion. I'm trying to think of a couple other Leafs that would make a lot of sense, like that would probably be creative. And my guess is probably Mikheyev might have some interesting ideas for fashion. Robertson probably not so much. I know Morgan Riley's going to stick with the suits, and there's been some interesting stuff that Frederick Anderson has worn over the years. But if we're looking outside the Leafs, I think one player that everyone always points to as someone with unique fashion choices, at least it's very stylish, is Henrik Lundqvist. And we've known that he's one of them, at least for female fans, they've always said that he's one of the most attractive players in the NHL, at least for some of them, of course. So I don't know what the Rangers dress code is, if they even have one, but if they don't, I'm curious to see what he does.
Yeah, and I know it probably won't be likely in the first maybe week or so, but David Pasternak always comes out with good stuff too. I know his suits are all nice, but something's going on with him, and I don't want to speculate what is going on with the Bruins and him, but he would be one to look out for. And I'm sad that Dallas has kind of implemented like a dress code because Tyler Seguin as well is good. And I'd say for the Leafs, like Kapanen, I know Kapanen is a stylish guy too. And I really hope Nylander decides to give a run at the Boomers and dress funny and see how they like it. And that's going to be fun. I'm wondering how John Tavares is going to come to the rink, because he wears suits, but if he has the option not to wear a suit, like I don't know. I was just thinking about it, like
slacks and a golf shirt, maybe.
Yeah,
I feel like he'll still,
Yeah, he will probably come out in like a golf shirt or something, but it'd be funny to see him maybe not have a golf shirt and wear something else. That'd be fun to see. I'm trying to think of anyone else on the Leafs. Nick Robertson is like a 32-year-old man inside, so he's gonna probably wear a suit. Jason Spezza, I know he said something about wearing just regular stuff. Sheldon Keefe, maybe.
I will say though, like I really like this. I think this is a step in the right direction, because I've kind of held the opinion that I did want to see kind of the dress code kind of slowly decrease in the NHL. I get why they have it. It's always nice to look presentable, and it is professional. Like even if you're a professional hockey player, I know they even do it in competitive hockey, minor hockey. Wear a suit. It looks professional. You go on your game. But also like it's just also hockey's moving towards more expression, and you want it to be more open, more accepting, and I mean, like we look at the NBA, and honestly the NBA had a pretty tight dress code, those kind of rules for a while, and we know we could credit a lot of the kind of the change to the transition to more casual wear and things like that to Allen Iverson and his impact on the league and the culture. But I mean, you look at the NBA and now they're pulling out like crazy fits, but it wasn't always like that. It kind of worked their way up because basketball culture kind of turned into this culture where they can, be more expressive. And that's why these players are honestly pulling out some of the best outfits you see these days. But hockey, as a culture, has been pretty closed up in that way, and very, they stick to what works best for a long time. And I would definitely love to see kind of more relaxed dress code even be implemented in the future. And I think it's something that'll come over time. Again, I'm honestly I feel like we shouldn't be anticipating like anything interesting these playoffs, because it's like their first time they're doing it. and honestly, when you think about hockey culture as a whole, this is probably like the first time they get to do it in like even like dating way back, like when, like even before they started playing in the NHL.
Mhm.
So these players probably never had to think about, you know, dressing differently from the norm. So I think if it is implemented, I want to see it implemented more, because I think in a few years the outfits will start to come.
I
Yeah,
think
and
so too.
yeah, go
I
on,
just want to
Michael.
quickly add that there's going to be so many dark horse candidates for dressing, just because now they have this freedom. Like if you've paid attention to some other NHL teams as they're entering rings, there are some remnants of players that are interested in being creative, but because they want to do the suits, they have to keep in line with that. Like I'm going to be completely honest, I've seen Blake Holman on Instagram. He has some interesting fashion, so I'm curious to see what he does, and some other players in general, because there are some unique fashions I've seen. I think they really want to, like, now they have the freedom to wear whatever they want. I feel like there's going to be some players that that we don't think will have unique fashion choices that just shock us. And
Yeah, and
I'm excited for that.
let's not blame them as well. Like if we see some like kind of funny fits, like we see some outfits that, you know, some people might not like. I think like the culture is not like one where these players are used to, you know, wearing a lot of different outfits or wearing street clothes anyway. So I think we'll see a lot of good outfits, a lot of bad outfits, and a lot that just didn't change. But hopefully with time it gets there with hockey.
Mm-hmm.
For hockey, it's going to be fun to see. I like how they're bringing this in. I hope they implement it for future seasons, because it it kind of brings um more of the player's personality out. Like we know Austin Matthews and all of them, they like to dress how they dress, and that brings their personality more out, rather than them just, like, I know with PK Subban, he's more of an outgoing player, and he likes to, I'm not gonna say, I was gonna say bounce off the walls, but he's outgoing. He's provides great sound bites. He provides so much energy. Austin Matthews is kind of the opposite. He's more of a calm player, and he does like to bring his personality more out in his clothing. But I remember, I think I just listened to a little bit of your guys' podcast with Joshua Cloak and Blake Murphy, and I think one of the things was that when, like, there's some players who, I forget what I was gonna say. Their personality is sometimes there, and I forget. I forget. I was just gonna say, like, it's good for them to have like another route of like coming out with a personality, because I remember I don't remember if it was with you guys or not. They said that like some players want to just be players and not be a part of the team. Like people grow up cheering for players rather than just that team. And seeing, like, for the NBA, Russell Westbrook, or like back in the day, like Michael Jordan, they had a sense of people just having that person who they looked up to. And with like all the Black Lives Matter and stuff going on and all that, people want to have one person who like can say like, hey, this isn't right, like we need to move on, like LeBron James or somebody else. And that's why I think for the NHL it was good for everyone to come out with a statement, and for the Leafs to wear the Black Lives Matter stuff, as well as the Raptors coming in Orlando with that Black Lives Matter bus, is just continuing the conversation. And I think that with players being able to dress, it does bring another route of personality. And I think that's going to be really good for the NHL. And like you said, Matt, it's going to bring the NHL to be maybe more acceptable in the future, and maybe be able to say hockey is for everyone. I know it's so far down the road that might even happen, but I do think, like with the NHL, being able to not have a dress code, it's a lot better than having them walk in suits.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, just to kind of finish up on that point, but yeah, like we talk about it so much on our podcast too. But yeah, like hockey is really not for everyone right now, and we want to get to the point where it is for everyone. And it's just that hockey culture has always been, you know, very closed, very, you know, you have to do things this way, you have to do it this way, and it's just become not attractive to a lot of people to want to get into it, because it's so closed off, especially for, minorities, people of color, the LGBTQ community, and on just minorities in general. And they're slowly doing things, to kind of promote those initiatives and trying to branch out, which is nice to see. But it's also about the little things. And I think the dress code has always been one thing that people see is like, it is, kind of, kind of quieting down the amount of, like expression that there is in the league. And you might think it's something so small, like just the dress code. Like, of course, they're just trying to be professional, but it's just those little things that kind of stem back to the fact that, we want hockey to be more open in general, and we want it to be more fun. We want it to be easier to access, and we want it to be where people don't have to feel like, if you want to be a hockey player, you don't have to feel like you have to do everything that is kind of told in a good way. We don't want people doing bad things, of course, but yeah, like, you don't want people like just kind of closing them in on this in this environment that's really not open or accepting of different ideas and different people and things like that.
If you want to know
Yeah.
why hockey is still not for everyone, sorry to interrupt, Nick, you have to look no further than the aftermath of Mike Babcock's firing. Like, look at all those stories that came out shortly after he was fired, and the Mitch Marner story, and then Akim Aliu with his situation with Bill Peters. That was disgusting and terrible that he had to experience that. And think of all the other players, like what happened with the CHL, all those stories that came out. And there's so much more that still hasn't been brought up to the surface. It's just proof right there that hockey culture as a whole is flawed. There's a lot of problems in it, and they need to be addressed in some way, shape, or form. And I'm glad that now there's work that's being done, like serious work that's being done. But we're still a ways away from a point where we can confidently say, yes, hockey is for everyone, and anyone can play this sport. But there's just still a long ways to go. And these last few months and this last year in general has been an awakening of sorts for the sport, because it really needed it.
Mm-hmm. It's like, you can say that hockey is for everyone, but once someone actually signs up to play and, gets in that locker room, like, is it really for everyone? Like, are they being told to just kind of assimilate into this culture that really is not really open to their ideas and just the way they are? It comes down to those kind of things.
Yeah, and do you guys know if, like, with the NBA, they have, like, you're able to put something on the back of your jersey? I remember seeing something about, like, We Skate for the NHL, but was there anything, like, are they allowed to put things on the back of their jerseys?
Not
Don't
that I
quote me
know
on this,
of.
but not that I know of so far.
Yeah, and I think that's disappointing, because that would be like a big, like, even just the Leafs wearing those Black Lives Matter jerseys, shirts to work out. We saw how far that got. And I know it sucks to see that people are like, oh, why do they have to wear that? And that's very disappointing to see. But I think if the NHL was to maybe do what the NBA is doing and other sports are doing, to allow you to have something on the back of your jersey rather than your last name, it would have changed a lot, and it would have moved the NHL a little bit forward and taking a bigger step. And it to me as a white person, I think it sucks that they're not doing that.
Mm-hmm. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the least that they could do is have a decal on the back of the helmet. It's like, after the Humboldt Broncos accident from the playoffs onward, there was like the logo of the Humboldt Broncos on the back of the helmet. Like, something like that is better than nothing, because at least that acknowledges that they're aware of the situation. And we know the NHL doesn't do the best of job of really advertising and promoting social issues that they think are important, such as the Black Lives Matter movement. And the fact that Leafs even did that, like you said, was huge. It was it was a big step. But obviously, there's still a ways to go for that. And I know that there should be a lot more. There should be a message like how on the NBA court they say is Black Lives Matter. There should be something that's on the ice, because this is a huge opportunity for the NHL to show that they really are in support of the Black community. And if you really want to make hockey a more inclusive environment, that's how it starts.
Yeah, and like it's not even just like you'd think it's just a sticker. It's easy. Again, it's not even just the message on the sticker. It also, like, of course that's so important, but it also just shows, hockey is becoming kind of open to just accepting everyone, and it is that it's what it represents too, and we need hockey to move towards a more positive light for everyone.
Yeah, and it's going to take time. Who knows if it even will get to there, and it'll be unfortunate if it doesn't. But I just hope for the next generation of hockey players that they're welcomed with open arms. Anyone from any race, anyone from any gender, or just everyone in general. I just hope that like people as parents right now understand how like the next generation of people are growing up and what they're going through, and I just hope that they kind of bring a light and show like their kids like, hey, this isn't right, you have to do it this way, and like be nice and treat everyone the way you want to be treated. Because like for me, that's how it was growing up, like treat everyone the way they want to be treated. But I know that's not everyone's like goal in life. Everyone doesn't do that, and we all know that. So I hope in the future people do show their children what's right and wrong. And I think when I talked to Omar about it too, that was one of the things. Like it starts with the parents. It starts with how they teach their kids what to be right and wrong and all of that. So in the future, I really hope that parents notice that, and even like coaches and stuff, whether that's minor league or even house league, just notice when something's wrong and just to say something rather than just to keep it silent.
For sure, we
Exactly.
say it all the
Because
time on the podcast. Oh, sorry, Michael.
no, I'll make it brief, because I want to say that minorities should feel comfortable and represented in hockey. Another group that I feel like that gets like pushed aside a lot is women in sports, and we've talked about. I mean, I'm all for it. I feel like the best parts of hockey when there's more people involved, especially women. So one of my favorite podcasts is run by two of my friends at Centennial, Ball Girls Podcast. If you haven't checked it out, by Jordan Ciccelli and Haley McGoldrick, please listen to it. It's great. And I feel like we need more people like that. It's not just the Black community. It's women in sports. It's trans people. It's the LGBT community. It's Latino, Indigenous people. All those people should feel comfortable and welcome in hockey, because right now it doesn't feel that way for them.
For sure. And I think it's just we need to get rid of that feeling of, if someone wants to sign up for hockey or start playing hockey, they shouldn't feel like they have to assimilate into the hockey culture, where they should just be able to be themselves and not have to basically follow everything that comes with this culture that kind of separates what they know, the culture that they come from, or who they are. It really tries to tear that apart and make them into what, the ideal hockey player is.
Yeah, and going off what both you said, like for Jordan, and I know a lot of other women that are on Twitter who either just are on there to talk about sports, or they're on there to help like further their careers and talk about sports. It sucks to see that there's people who leave comments being like, oh, you're just here just to watch the hot hockey players or hot baseball players, because at the end of the day, that's not how it works. Like, people enjoy it because they enjoy it. It's not about the players. Maybe there's some girls who do enjoy it because of that, but at the end of the day, you still don't have to say that. You just treat them as one of the people who are just there and who are just want to talk about sports. It sucks to see, and it's not fair that women get treated like that, because some of them, and probably most of them, know more than sports about more than we do, and a a lot of them don't get the recognition that they deserve for that, and it sucks to see, and I hope a lot of it changes in the future, and it needs to.
And like we're just three guys here kind of talking about that. Of course we can't say we have the lived experiences as women in sports, and it really is hard what they have to go through a lot of the time. And all we can really do is like just support them. Like I completely support them. I mean, sports is at the like base of it all. Sports is there to unify everyone, right? Like it's just something for us to really love and be together with people. And I don't know why people have to, feel so, almost possessive or they have to gatekeep sports because it's just something that everyone loves, at different degrees, and that doesn't even matter. But we should just support women in sports, definitely, because a lot of the great things that are coming out of whether you're a fan or someone in media, but especially in sports media, a lot of the great things coming out of sports media is from women in sports. And yeah, like exactly, you can never really separate them at all.
Exactly
Yeah.
that. And just bringing it back to the Black Lives Matter conversation, just the fact that Omar, who happens to be a black man, is having so much success on Twitter for his gifts and being just a presence, a personality on at least Twitter. Like, we need more success stories like that. We need more people of different from different backgrounds that come into this like sport and find success, because that's how the sport grows. At the end of the day, is when there's more people involved. Like, why else do you think I'm very happy that my friends are doing super well on Twitter? Because I know that they deserve it, but also because we need more success stories like that. And if we don't have more success stories, then how our sport's going to progress? They're not. We're gonna be in this like stalemate that I've kind of felt like we've been in for a little bit. And I'm glad that we're seeing more people being more comfortable coming forward and having success, because that's what sports in general needs, especially hockey.
100%. And last note from me on this is that also support minorities in sport, as in like watch women's sports. A lot of people want to argue that I mean that difference, a lot of people want to argue the difference between what men's sports leagues like kind of bring in terms of revenue as opposed to women's sports, and whatever argument people try to make, it doesn't matter, because the sport that you love is still the same. And at the basis of all, we all love sports because we love getting together and watching people compete. And women's sports are just great. They're honestly so great. I'm really looking forward to the Toronto Six's inaugural season. Yeah, of course, even the WNBA, and then just really support them, man, because in the end, like the fact that you make that, like, people make those arguments about the difference is because they're not getting as much support when they do deserve 100% deserve equal support. So I'm going to say that. And then also my last note was that me and Michael say this a lot on the podcast, but it all starts with the kids, the younger generation, that I mean, that's why we want to promote in the NHL, so that the kids watching can see these ideas being put to work, these more open ideas being put to work, so that when they go in the dressing room, let's be real, like, honestly, you could probably see the worst behavior and then like the most exclusion of people at work is in like the minor leagues for kids, and how they are in dressing rooms. And it kind of just builds from there, the ideas that these kids hold even while they progress through hockey. So it all starts there. You parents need to teach their kids that. The NHL needs to make sure that kids are viewing good examples of inclusion. And yeah, that's what I feel.
And at the end of the day, sports are fun. And what's not fun is when people are feeling left out. So support minorities, like Matthew said, because that's how the sports grow. And that's all I really have to say about that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say one last thing about it. It's, for me, I think one of the biggest problems is people staying silent, like, especially for me or us as men in sports. Like, we have to be there for them. We have to be there for the women. We have to also be there for all the minorities as well. Like, if you see something that's not right, say something. Like, I know it sucks to see a lot of like big personalities in media stay silent about a lot of this stuff, and like they don't offer their take on anything. I don't know whether that's because they're afraid of losing their job or something like that, and it's obviously not my place to say things like that or whatever, but it sucks to see that people don't, especially with bigger followings, don't say, or when they see something wrong, they don't help support it. Like when like Jordan or somebody else tweets something and there's people in the comments or in the replies being like, oh, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. Like I try to be there and try and kind of argue with that person who's maybe like just being, I'm not gonna swear, but being a dick because of women. And like even out of minorities and women and stuff, like Steve Simmons, when he put out the Austin Matthews thing, like I made sure to be like, this is not right. Like, and I really hope for the future that I'm seeing that it is moving towards the way of people are not being afraid to speak what they think, even people that are in media. So it's exciting. I just really hope it does move forward a lot more.
Mhm. I completely agree.
Yep, me too.
But now I don't know how long we've been going. I think it's like an hour and a half. So
Yeah, I think we've been going quite
Yeah,
a
I've
while.
been going for a while.
It's been
I
fun
want
though.
to no, yeah, I want to get like, this is going to be quick questions, quick answers. You got to give me quick answers.
Okay.
First,
Lightning round,
Okay,
I
I'll
like it.
try.
lightning round, yeah. So first, how far will the Leafs go in this playoffs?
I realistically think I think I'm not gonna say like the finals. I'm gonna say like like the third round, as in
The conference finals?
not the play-in round. I'm not counting the play-in round, but yeah, I'm gonna say the semifinals because I think they can get over their first round hump, not counting the play-in round. But I think for now, let's just set our sights on that second round.
Yeah. I think the second round should be a realistic expectation. I think we should not be expecting anything less than them winning a round or two, and that includes the play-in round. I think the Leafs really need that confidence boost. And if they can win a play-in round, I think that'll go a long way, even if it's not like a regular playoff round.
Yeah, I'm going to say they win the Stanley Cup just because that's how it's going to work and they're going to win. Unless they lose, like you guys said, in the second or third round, or they get swept by Columbus or something like that. We're not going to talk about that though.
Knock on wood.
But if you never know, they get swept, they get Lafreniere too. For me, I think they're gonna, if they get a taste of getting through that first round, I think they have a chance to go all the way because they'll be so happy. And one thing I do want to say quickly is that if they do get into that second round and Kyle Clifford makes a difference, he's getting re-signed. That's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't make a difference, I don't know if he does, but I still think he might. But another question I want to know is which Leaf is going to be the best? Who's gonna shine? And if they do win the Stanley Cup, who's gonna be the Conn Smythe winner?
I'm gonna go with Austin Matthews.
I'd have to say Austin Matthews too, but I also give a shout out to Mitch Marner and Nylander. They're both equally qualified candidates for that award as well. And I'd say John Tavares too. It's either or, but Matthews is probably the favorite for me.
Yeah, I could even see like Mitch Marner again. Like 2 seasons ago, he had a great playoff series against Boston, and even though last season he kind of had last playoffs he kind of had a slower playoffs. I think he has it in him. If the Leafs did go all the way, he could be the surprise, leading point scorer. I mean, we've seen him be the leading point scorer on the team in seasons past.
I'm disappointed in you guys. You know why? Because you didn't say Frederick because you didn't say Frederick Anderson.
I think we still have some doubts with Anderson right now, but yeah, it's
CN Tower pads. CN Tower
maybe
pads are gonna.
Maybe it's Martin Marincin.
No, he's not playing. I've already said that to myself 5 million times. And he's probably not going to play unless somebody gets injured, but then it's Rasmus Sandin, and then it'd be Marincin. I have no shame to say that Martin Marincin is a good defenseman. Not the best at handling the puck at times. And I want to say that I'd be happy not to see him in a game, but it's a depth piece. He's a depth piece, and he's good either way. He's in the NHL for a reason. So, there's that. Also, speaking of Martin Marincin, I got a blank Leafs jersey. Who should I put on it?
You gotta go with Marincin.
I already have Marincin.
He already has. I would say if McCabe signs, get him his name.
Okay. I do that too.
Yeah, I was thinking, I don't know, I might put it on Twitter and be like, who should I get on the jersey? I was thinking about getting Nick Robertson.
Oh, that's a good one.
That'd be cool. I don't know. I'm not gonna get Matthews, Nylander, Marner, or Tavares because I don't like getting the obvious players. But I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
And
although don't take advice from me with jerseys because if you guys remember from the stream, I'm not the best with picking jersey numbers.
And I don't know if you guys listened to the other podcast with Mike Stevens, but he said he did the same thing about Martin Marincin, but with Roman Polak. And he hit 500 retweets, but he didn't buy it. I wish he did.
Oh, he didn't buy it. You stayed true to your word, though.
Yeah. I don't think I'm ever gonna do that again. No, but it was fun. It's gonna be cool when I go to another Leaf game and bring it, and have people be like, "Oh, why the heck do you have this Marincin jersey on?" But, anyways, since we're very tight on time now, I want to get a few Twitter questions in. The first one from Omar at TikTok Tomar on Twitter. Should Sharks be removed from Fortnite, and why is the answer yes?
I'm going to say no because it's added so much comedic relief for us when we play, Omar. So, no, I hope Sharks are always there for the rest of Fortnite history. And I hope it makes more clippable moments with you.
For anyone that wants the context, Omar is afraid of the Sharks in Fortnite, and he's we've had a few moments where he's gotten freaked out. I think the best was when there was one session where the shark came from the house, to the house. He wasn't expecting it. That was probably one of my favorites.
Shout out Omar, man. You're one of our honestly our best friends on Twitter. We gotta play some more Fortnite for sure.
Yeah, shout out to Omar.
It was funny because after we played, I stayed up and played a few games, and a shark came at me, and it jumps so high.
Mm-hmm.
It'll come at you at the second floor of a house.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I think Omar was in the house and it tore through the wall.
What if Jaws was on steroids?
That would be that shark.
Exactly. All right, next question.
I've already included. His name is Gordon Bombay on Twitter. Obviously, he's not the real Gordon.
Ducks.
Yeah, shout out to him.
But they ask, what are your expectations for the Leafs defensively with a healthy decor under Keefe against a weaker offensive Columbus team?
Mike, you want to take it away first?
I think the one thing we should take away from this is not to discredit the Columbus Blue Jackets in any way, shape, or form, and that even includes their offense. Yes, they're not one of the best offensive teams in the league, but that doesn't mean they're not a good team. Their strength is in their defense, of course, and they've got really good goaltending. But they have some weapons offensively, even without Artemi Panarin and Matt Duchene in the lineup. I think one person that comes to mind for me is Pierre-Luc Dubois. Another is Cam Atkinson and Nick Foligno. Those are three guys that scare me, even if they're not the biggest names offensively. There's going to be threats. And the Leafs defense have their work cut out for them either way. It's always going to be an uphill battle for the Leafs defense, even if they're fully healthy like they are right now. I think you still have to respect the fact that these guys have some quality players that can really turn the favor for them offensively. So I think as much as I want to say, it's going to be a cakewalk for the Leafs, it's not. They have to respect the Blue Jackets. especially after last year with Tampa.
And same for me. Uh, I definitely think we can't discredit the Blue Jackets at all. I think if anything, this is a offensively minded Leafs team against a more defensively minded Blue Jackets team, and that obviously balances it out. But that's exactly why I really think it's going to go to at least 4 or 5 games. My prediction, if you checked it out on our newest Leafs Nation post about, I think we all gave our predictions, like all of us writers, the roundtable post, but I said Leafs in 4, but honestly, it could either be Leafs in 4 or 5, or even Columbus in 5. It's just going to be that close of a battle. And when we match up the goaltending as well, which you can consider part of the defensive core in a way. Both Korpisalo and Anderson has been kind of unsteady as of late. So in a way, it's going to be kind of the battle of 2 kind of cold goaltenders right now. And it's just about who can be a little better when it comes to, and obviously defense plays a part, but that's why the Leafs just have to really try to get their defensive core playing more together.
Yeah, Leafs in 3, by the way.
I wish.
You never know; it could happen. They could sweep Columbus like Columbus swept Tampa. But there is 2 other questions. I'm gonna do one more because one of them is with analytics and stuff like that, and that will take a lot of time. But the last one is from Awesome Matthews, and
Nice name.
They say Wool, Scott, Kaskiswo, or other young kid in another organization, whether they trade or draft, who knows? Draft is going to take a long time for the goalie to develop, so I doubt that. But out of all those goalies, and if not whether they trade for one, who gets the first shot at being the next starter after Freddie and Campbell leave the Leafs? Or who is your preferred option?
Michael, you want to go first?
I'm probably going to go with Wool. Yeah. I think, like I said, Joseph Wool is my guy. I think he's the guy that I think out of all the Leafs prospects for goaltending has been the one that's given me the most confidence. And he's had a lot of success. And not just like he had one really good season, but continued success. Yes, Scott was very good in the CHL, and I think he had that really masterful performance in his last season. But he's also been injured a lot this past couple of years. And you never know. Things could change for him. Kaskisuo, he's been all right. He had one game. Obviously, it's hard to really judge him after one game when the Leafs were done with Mike Babcock. But, yeah, out of all those options, Walt makes the most sense for me. But, again, goalies are voodoo. Anything could happen.
I'm going to go with Wool as well. As you said, Scott, he's been great in juniors, and goaltenders really, honestly, like you said, they're like complete wild cards. Like they can, not progress as the way you've thought they were, and then maybe they bounce around and become a star like in their mid-20s. So it's pretty crazy, but I think if the Leafs were to put all their eggs into one basket, it would be with Wool. But I do think I think realistically the Leafs have always been an organization that tries to trade for a goaltender, a starting goaltender, rather than try to move someone through the pipeline. So I think that's actually the avenue that they most likely will take.
For me, I want to say that as much as I like Wall and as much as he's been decent with the Marlies, it's his first year, so there's obviously going to be some rough patches. I was excited to see how Ian Scott would do because he played in the Memorial Cup last year and then he was injured, and that really sucked because I was really high on him. He was supposed to be a good goaltender, and I know I saw today that Kristen Shilton shared that him and Janssen were practicing before the Leafs practice, and that was really good to see. But if one of those 2 pan out, I think that'll be good. And like you said, Matt, they are an organization that trades for goaltending as well. And whether or not, I want to say if Frederik Andersen doesn't have a good playoffs end next season, he's not going to get re-signed. But I'm interested to see how well Jack Campbell does. And maybe, possibly, who knows, something possible could happen that he was to become the number 1 goaltender. That's like shooting for the stars, but I wouldn't mind seeing him be a starting goaltender for the Leafs if it was possible. But yeah, I was high on Ian Scott, and Ian Scott would have been cool to see put on a Leaf uniform.
I'll just put it
Gold.
to you this way: besides James Reimer, who's the best Leaf goalie that they drafted, brought up through the system, and had success on the Leafs? Can you think of any?
It's hard to
You
think
know,
of that.
you know who my favorite was? I don't know if they drafted him, but my favorite goalie when the World Juniors were on and everything was Justin Pogge.
Oh man,
Yeah,
that brings back
that's a throwback right there.
a time.
I was dead set when he gets to the Leafs, I'm buying his jersey. But
I mean, Felix Potvin was drafted by the Leafs. That's the first one that comes to my mind. But I mean, again, not a superstar or anything.
no,
Think of it this
and you
way:
never.
how far back that was from the
That was the
'90s. Like we're
90s.
talking years, like
Yeah.
years. Last time at least had a goalie that they drafted and has had success. And then, I mean, obviously James Reimer was the most recent one, but would you say that he's a superstar goalie? Not really. But I'm not to discredit James Reimer. I think James Reimer's a fine goalie, but we're talking like a good goalie that's had continued success. It's been hard to
Mhm.
find for a least drafted goalie. That's why they had to trade for them.
Now, you're saying he's not a superstar goalie. Would you classify him as more of a superstar goalie if he didn't give up those goals against Boston and got them through to the second round?
James
I would
Reimer.
still say the same thing,
Yeah.
even if the Leafs won the first round. It's just James Reimer's a good goalie, but I think he's just a fringe starter at best, and that's not to discredit him at all. I think that's just a fair classification of him. It's just I think I'm obviously if the Leafs had continued success with James Reimer, our perception would be different. But I think that's just the way she goes right now. It's
I do want to
unfortunate because the way things ended for him in Toronto. Go on.
give credit to James Reimer because at the time, obviously in 2013, he was an average NHL goaltender, but that season he was a little above average. Like he was a really solid starting goaltender for the Leafs. Unfortunately, immediately after that season, they did bring in Jonathan Bernier, and so a lot of the starts that was kind of given to him beforehand, they were kind of taken away. So I think I think it's up in the air because we don't know what he could have, what his ceiling could have been, because he was progressing at a great rate. But obviously, a lot of his starts got taken away once they brought Jonathan Bernier in. So I guess we'll never know. But yeah, I don't want to discredit Reimer because yeah, he seemed like an average NHL goaltender, but he progressed really quickly in those years from 2011 to 2013.
He was. I think when in that 2013, he was one of my favorite players on the team. He was when I remember him just being like an overall nice person, and a lot of people like got mad at him when he might have had like a stint where he gave up a few goals or something like that. But I was always fixed on him being he was a good goaltender, and that was that. Like when Jonathan Bernier came in, I was a little upset because he didn't get the amount of starts that I think he deserved. And then there was that conversation of who's going to be the number one starter, and that lasted until they brought in Frederick Anderson. But for me, I like James Reimer, and even though he gave up those unfortunate goals against Boston, um, I still like him. He's a great guy.
If he comes back to the Leafs one day, I will be totally happy with it.
Well,
I'll never say a bad thing about James Reimer. I just think maybe Leaf fans overvalued him a little bit, but I think Leaf fans do that with every player. Let's be real here. But James Reimer is good. He was one of the best Leaf goalies prospects that they've ever had in a long time, and I'm glad that he was a member of the Leafs, especially during that bleak few years where they were really struggling. Like he was one of those few bright spots that I think a
I
lot of
remember
people were.
2011, that late playoff push was basically on his back, and they almost got to the playoffs that year, but that was like I mean it's a big job from he was a rookie in that season, so yeah, I mean huge props to him.
Yeah, definitely. But I think we've talked. It's now 3:14. I think that's an hour and we
It's such a
started at
great discussion.
we started I think 1:36. So it's almost been an hour and 40 minutes. So I think that's where I'm going to end off the podcast. I want to actually thank you both for coming on. It was actually felt like maybe half an hour talking to you guys, but
Yeah.
again, it's been an hour and 40 minutes. But I want to thank you guys again for coming on. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys about hockey, mental health, just the overall things about hockey and how they can move forward and all that. So it's been a pleasure. As you guys do in your podcast, I want to let you guys plug your socials.
Let's
So
do it in the order we usually do.
okay. So yeah, you can follow me at Matt_Rodrigo_ on Twitter. And obviously now you can find my work at the Leafs Nation. Yeah, you could tweet me or follow me or drop me a message, anything. And yeah, our podcast as well is Behind the Net podcast. Make sure to check that out. We talk hockey, basketball, baseball, mainly the three Toronto sports themed podcasts. And we talk about just also what's just basically going on in the sports world. But yeah.
The podcast can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, now YouTube. There's also iHeartRadio and a couple others I can't really think of. If you want to find it, it should be there. Like Matthew, my work can also be found at the Leafs Nation. I also work for Maple Leafs Hostel with their gifts, which so be look forward to that. And as for me, my Twitter handle is at the Leafs IMO.
But yeah, this has been fun. It's going to be an interesting season or playoffs or return to play format or whatever we like to call it, bubble, whatever. Again, lastly, I want to thank you guys for coming on. If anyone does have any suggestions for how to make this podcast better in the future, or anyone that you would like to see come on for the podcast, please let me know either on Twitter or YouTube or whatever. It's at Nick Barden for everywhere. But yeah, I want to thank you so much for all listening. Thank you both, Michael and Matt, for coming on. And hopefully the Leafs do something well against Columbus. But maybe I'll get a podcast out before they start that series. So thank you so much for listening. And
Thank
I
you for
guess
having us as well.
No worries.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It's been fun. It's nice to just chill and talk about hockey and stuff and have that stuff. So yeah, it's always nice. And I want to again I said it already once. I'm going to say it again. Thank you for coming on. I
you for
did this
having
the
us.
same. Yep. I said the same thing with Michael too, or Mike Stevens. So yeah, but without further ado, that's where I'm going to end it off. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on another podcast in the future.